Hey, we're in a new place. This is my dorm for the fall 2022 semester. I'm here to do my wrap up, which I believe I said I was going to film while I was home and then didn't. What the fuck did I end with on my last wrap up? So the last book I talked about in my spring wrap up, if you haven't seen that, was I Kissed Shower Wheeler. The first thing I read this summer was On a Sunbeam by Tilly Walden. I did like the book. I finished it in one day. The art is fucking beautiful. I gave it 4 stars. It was very good. I liked it. I kind of like, I've been going back and forth and trying to decide if I want to rip out some of the pages with the art and hang them on my wall. So I probably won't ever read it again. But I don't know if that's like sacrilege. So someone tell me. Apparently I have nothing to say about On a Sunbeam. So let's move on and talk about My Government Means to Kill Me, which is out now. I read this in the summer. I read it in May/June as an arc. It's out now. I talked about it, I think, in my Queer Pride Month Rex. This book is so fucking good. It's like a fictionalized memoir. It's not about Rashid Newson, who was the author. It's about a character named Trey, and he moves to New York and becomes really involved in ACT UP, which was a gay rights movement focusing on AIDS in the 80s. It was so good. It was just fantastic. It's just beautiful. I gave it 4.5 stars. It was fantastic. I wrote here that the writing style like reminded me of a classic, like something I would have been asked to read in high school, which I thought was super cool because like the book is about queer history, and I like, it's just nice to imagine queer history being taught in schools, because it was not taught to me like that. I learned about it through the internet. I also wrote that I would have read this book forever. I don't even really have the words for it. It was so gorgeous to read, and I really think that if you are queer, even if you're not queer, if you have like any interest in learning about queer history, which you should, in my opinion, this is a fantastic book to pick up. Even though it's fiction, it's still like very telling, and really, really fantastic. This is a great book, and you should go pick it up. Next, I reread Hell Followed With Us. I have read this book twice this year. It is so fucking good. I have been talking about Hell Followed With Us since I read the arc in March. It's a fucking fantastic book. Please check the trigger warnings if you are new here. Hi, my name is Morgan. I love Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White. It is a post-apocalyptic body horror, religious trauma, gore. Oh my god, it's so good. Basically, we're following our main character, Benji. He is 16 years old. He's a trans boy. He is has been indoctrinated into this religious cult that has basically caused the world to end via plague. And Benji has been infected and is turning into a bioweapon for this religious cult. And at the beginning of the book, Benji escapes and finds Nick and Co, who are a group of teenagers who were in the LGBT center when the world ended. And we just follow them like as they try and survive, as Benji is turning into this horrible monster, which I think, oh my god, like obvious, it's so obvious, but like just like the way that like Benji doesn't get to transition medically into his gender, but the whole time he's transitioning into a monster. It's fucking insane, guys. It's so good. I can't believe this is a debut. It's fucking amazing. I've linked the content warnings on here before. I will link them again. They're very important for this book. If it's something that you can handle, I really, really highly recommend it. It's one of my only 5-star reads of the year. It's fucking fantastic. Next, I got sent the arc for Never Ever Getting Back Together by Sophie Gonzalez. I believe this comes out in December. I think this is my first solo Sophie Gonzalez book I've ever read. I read If This Gets Out, which she wrote with Cale Dietrich. That was actually my first ever arc that I got. It's fine. It's not groundbreaking. It's not fantastic. It's like a reality show romance book. The basis of the show in the book is that they bring this guy in, and then they bring in all of his exes to have like a second chance. But our main character, whose name I cannot remember, the main character, Maya, decides to go on the competition to basically enact revenge. She wants to embarrass her ex on national television. And while she's there, she falls for one of the other competitors, one of his other exes, a girl named Sky. The best thing about this book is that the title is a Taylor Swift lyric. Definitely not my highest recommended book in this video, but I read it. The next thing I read was This Is How You Lose the Time War by Max Gladstone and Amal El-Matar. I read this book. It was in my 22 books for 2022. You can watch that video on my channel. I liked it. I gave this book 4 stars. It's really short. It's less than 200 pages. It didn't make any sense, but I also understand it completely. It's sci-fi. It's about 2 time travelers. They're leaving letters for each other as they go through time. It's more complicated than that, but that's like the basic description. It is sapphic. My favorite thing about the book was the writing. There's just some beautiful quotes in here. I really want to read some of them to you. This letter is a knife at my neck if cutting's what you want. I liked that line a lot because I wrote that it felt like a Phoebe Bridgers lyric or like one of the other sad girl artists. To read your letters is to gather flowers from within myself. Pluck a blossom here, a fern there, arrange and rearrange them in ways to suit a sunny room. I'll be all the poets, I'll kill them all and take each one's place in turn. And every time love's written in all the strands, it will be to you. Just absolutely gorgeous writing. It's confusing as fuck though. If you need to understand a book to like it, then maybe not for you. Next. So do you remember how I was just talking about Never Ever Getting Back Together and I said it wasn't the best book that I'm going to talk about? It's also not the worst because this was the worst. This book was so bad and I was so angry that I wasted my fucking time reading it. I had an arc for this book because I was so excited about it. It sounded so perfectly on my alley. And I got an email from the publisher that was like, oh, hey, like, just so you know, like, this book comes out in like 3 days. And I was like, oh, fuck, I didn't realize the book came out that soon. I was going to do a vlog where I read the whole thing in one day. And while I was vlogging, I fell down the stairs and sprained my ankle. So I then had to go to urgent care. And the vlog was ruined. So, and this book wasn't even fucking worth that. It's American Royalty by Tracy Livesay. It was not good. I didn't like it. I had so many fucking issues with it. And it made me so sad because it's like, has such a good premise. You guys know I love entertainment industry romance. The main character in this is a rapper. Like, and she read very Megan Thee Stallion to me. It's her and a prince because he's putting on like a royal event concert she's gonna perform. The climax to this book didn't even happen until we were like 90% in, which means there wasn't enough time to really resolve anything satisfactorily. Satisfactorily? Is that a word? It is now. The pacing was off. There was this whole weird conflict where like Duchess, who was the main character, was like beefing with another singer, and there was no fucking reason for that to be in there because it had no weight on the story like whatsoever. It's an extremely high stakes situation. Like, this is a royal dating a celebrity rapper and they're trying to like keep it under wraps, and somehow it still didn't feel like the stakes were high enough in the book. Like, everything felt very casual, even though it's not a casual fucking situation. So I was like, this is weird. This is a steamy book, a spicy book, if you will. All of the spicy scenes had these like really weird fucking cutoffs. Everything about this book made me angry. And it really started off fine, and then it just fucking tanked. I gave this 2.75 stars. Rip Queen Lizzie, you would have fucking hated American Royalty by Tracy Livesay. Next, I read the 3 Sally Rooney novels. There's a whole vlog of me reading all 3 of them. Conversations with Friends, Normal People, and Beautiful World, Where Are You? I'm not going to talk about them again. I talked about them in the Sally Rooney vlog. Go watch it. Then I read another arc of a book called Buck's Pantry. I hadn't really heard of it until I was just like scrolling on NetGalley and it sounded interesting. The premise of this book is like 3 women, their lives are all entangled in some certain way. 2 of them get basically held hostage in like this weird situation, and it's up to the 3rd one to like put the pieces together and like figure out that something's wrong and like go save them. And the book is essentially divided into 2 parts, which is like the before and the after of that situation. I don't want to spoil it. I did like it. I gave it 3.75 stars. I'm the only person on Storygraph who's read it. This book is out now though, if you want to read it. It's Buck's Pantry by Kristen Weirman. I liked it. It worked. I read fucking Husband Material by Alexis Hall. Baby! This was one of my most anticipated books of the year, and it simply did not let me down. This is a sequel to Boyfriend Material. I read Boyfriend Material at the beginning of the year. It was one of Kay's favorite books. I read it in the blog where I read their favorite books. Really liked it. I think I gave it like 4 stars or 4.5 stars originally. Now that I've read Husband Material, I just want to bump them both up to 5 stars because Husband Material made me fucking crazy. Like, something about this book was just insane. It is set up like 4 weddings and a funeral. I've never seen the movie. I'm assuming there are 4 weddings and a funeral. There is also 4 weddings and a funeral in Husband Material. The audiobook narrator who does what is his name, because I need to know. Joe Jameson, you need a fucking raise. He is so good at narrating these audiobooks. The voices are so good. It's just so amazing. This book fucking wrecked me. I don't want to spoil it. Obviously it's a sequel, so you know. I will say I love if you've read Boyfriend Material, Alex Twaddle, Luke's co-worker who like doesn't get any jokes. I fucking love him. He's so stupid and he makes me laugh every single time. And then also with like Reese in this book doing like the social media was so funny. I also wrote down, oh, Oliver Blackwood, if you weren't gay and fictional. Oliver's perfect. He's everything I could ever want. I also wrote down, I'm emotionally devastated. I did not have this strong of a reaction to Boyfriend Material. I've been through the ringer. I feel insane. I wrote that like immediately after I finished it. Oh my god, this book fucking destroyed me. It was so good. I gave it 5 stars. It was so amazing. I wrote, there's more commentary too if you like scroll on my Twitter. It's Read My Life with 2 Ds. Oh my god, it's so fucking good. This book was so good. It made me crazy. I wrote, Luke O'Donnell, you are my worst enemy and my best friend. I love you. Stop being me. I hate you. I have been emotionally devastated by a rom-com. This book was just so fantastic, and this book made me love Boyfriend Material more. When the 3rd one comes out, I'm gonna be a shell of a person, I swear to god. And then I read Girl Crush by Florence Given. This was an arc I got. It is out now. It came out in August. It was fine. It was kind of a little bit girl boss, feminism, Tumblr, bisexual woman. Do you guys understand what I'm describing? Like, I feel like, okay, not to like police other people's sexuality, but like I am also a bisexual woman, so I feel like I can say stuff like this. Maybe it just didn't align with my experience, but like the things she was saying felt fake. Like the things that she was saying. Okay, so the main character in this book has a realization that she's bisexual, she likes women, and then she like decides she just wants to go date a bunch of women after getting out of a long-term relationship. And just everything, like, it was so like fucking fake. It felt very fake. I don't know, I think the author is bisexual, but I would have never guessed. Like, if I had no knowledge of this book, I would have been like, why is this straight woman writing a bisexual character? This is weird. There's also like a really big social media component to this because our main character is an artist who, after she breaks up with her boyfriend, she gets really drunk and posts a video ranting about how men suck and she's bisexual and she wants to just date women. And it goes super viral and she gets hundreds of thousands of followers on this fake social media platform. It's fucking weird. Like, the book is like simultaneously about her figuring out her sexuality and also her rising and falling from fame, but those things didn't really go together. I think reading this helped me see more of what I should look for in a book, which is definitely relationships between non-men. My favorite part of this book was the relationship between our main character and her best friend, who is non-binary. It wasn't like a romantic relationship, just like a friendship. And also what to avoid. I was so fucking annoyed by this influencer moment. I didn't like it. In total, I gave this book 3 stars. Also, the cover says a hot, dark story. Like, I've said stuff before like this on this channel, but like, I have read all of the game. Like, don't pitch a book to me as dark if it's not comparable to all of the game. Like, my head is just so fucked from reading that book that my perception is so different. This didn't seem very dark to me. I don't know. There wasn't an on-page sexual assault, so I'm like, When London Snow Falls by Hayden Stone. This was another arc. Read lots of arcs. This book actually came out in June. I had gotten the arc for it. I thought that it had expired on me. And then like 3 days before it actually expired and archived, I got a notification that like it was there. So I was like, oh, fuck it, I'll read it just to like keep up my, like, on NetGalley, you have like a percentage of books that you've reviewed that you've been approved for, and you want to keep it like somewhat high so that you keep getting approved for books. So I was like, oh, like I'll just read it to review it and get my percentage, keep my percentage like stable. It was fine. I have thoughts. The main character was fucking annoying. He was insufferable and he made me mad because his whole fucking thing was like, oh, like, I'm a barista and I'm also a dad and I'm also a college student and like I'm also in a band and like I have so much stuff I have to do all the time and I don't have time to have a relationship. Like, that was his whole thing, and he fucking talked about it constantly. Bestie, I am also a barista. I swear to God, it is not that deep. Like, I have been a barista for almost 3 years. It is not that deep. It simply is not that deep. And then there's also, this is so awful. There was a scene in the book. It was very, very insta-lovey. They met like 3 times and then had sex in the break room, not the break room, the back room, like the storage room of the coffee shop that the main character worked at, which, first of all, not fucking sanitary. I fucking love it. He goes, I wrote it down because it was fucking awful. They finish having sex, and this is so bad. I wish I could remember the fucking setup for this, but the quote is, oh, you know I like cream in my coffee. Why the fuck would you say that? I have to live with that now. I have to live with that. And so now you also have to live with it. Main character pissed me off. I thought the love interest deserved better. The main character, he was fucking annoying and literally was like constantly like, I can't do this with you. Oh, but I like you so much. Oh, but I can't do this with you. Oh, but I like you so much. And I'm like, you were putting this guy through the fucking ringer. Like, please just go, like, be a fucking barista if that is so important to you. Okay, next I read, big fucking left turn. I read a book that won the Pulitzer Prize, and that's Less by Andrew Sean Greer. This was also on my 22 books for 2022. And I picked this up because I'm obsessed with Carly. I think her videos are fantastic. She's amazing. And then, like, this happens to me sometimes, but like, I watched her videos and I followed her on Instagram, and she posted something about her chart, her birth chart, and I realized that we have the same big 3, and I was like, oh, like, that's probably why I feel so drawn and like connected to Carly, even though I've never fucking met her. I don't have to tell you this book is fantastic. It won the Pulitzer Prize. I gave it 4.25 stars. So in this book, our main character, Arthur Less, he's an author. His ex is getting married, and so to avoid going to the wedding, he just accepts all of these invitations to go to literary events like around the world. And so he just travels the world, and every chapter is set in a different place. And it's beautiful. It's really fantastic. It's great writing. I go to school in New York. I live in New York for most of the year, but I read this book when I was at home in Rhode Island. And the opening of this book takes place in New York. And I wrote down, I really love it when a narrator not from New York describes New York in a way that is supposed to make you be like, oh, like, who would ever want to be in New York City? Like, who wants to live in New York City? And then it just makes me, who lives in New York City, be like, oh, I miss New York. Oh, I miss New York. Like, it's so funny to me. And this was a book I wrote down a lot of quotes for. I will read you some. Strange, though, because he's afraid of everything, nothing is harder than anything else. Taking a trip around the world is no more terrifying than buying a stick of gum. I thought that was good. I thought that was a really accurate description because, you know, sometimes, like, I get anxious to go to the dining hall on campus, but I can go to a concert alone in a place I've never been to, like, no problem. So, like, anxiety is just fucking weird and works really strangely, and I thought that was, like, a really great way to describe it. This one's probably my favorite. It's a long quote, but bear with me because it's beautiful and I want you to hear it. He has known genius. He has been awakened by genius in the middle of the night, by the sound of genius pacing the halls. He has made genius his coffee and his breakfast and his ham sandwich and his tea. He has been naked with genius. Coaxed genius from panic, brought genius's pants from the tailor, and ironed his shirts for a reading. He has felt every inch of genius's skin. He has known genius's smell and felt genius's touch. So fucking good. This book, like, it won the Pulitzer. Like, I don't need to tell you how good it is. This also, when I fucking read this, it, like, I was like, goddamn. Like someone who has just learned a foreign language and can only use the present tense and only the second person. Only now. Only you. Oh, that is so fucking good. 20 years of anything with another person is a success. Is the sun a failure because it's going to end in a billion years? No, it's the fucking sun. Next I read Kim Ji-young, born 1982. This is another UnCarly rec. Also on my 22 books for 2022. I got to a lot of those this summer. This is like a literary women's fiction. It's very short, 163 pages. I read it in one day. This book is about an every woman in South Korea and just her life. And the draw for this really was that she went crazy at the end, but like, no, she didn't. Not really something that I feel like I had to read. I am a woman. I know how women are treated. And even though I don't know like the specifics of how women are treated in South Korea, like I feel like it's a pretty universal experience. So like every time something happened to her that it was meant to be like misogyny moment, it was like, yeah. Guys, I did it. I read Tender as the Flesh. It was fucking gross. It was disgusting and depraved. This is a cannibalism book, if you didn't know that. All of the animals have been infected with this disease that makes them poisonous to humans. Humans can no longer eat animals, so they start eating other humans instead. And it's fucking gross. But an enjoyable read. If you can handle the insane fucking list of trigger warnings. I did have to skip a chapter because I wasn't overly interested in reading about puppy torture. It did kind of give me Brave New World vibes. And like, if you've read Brave New World, which I fucking hated Brave New World, it like kind of has that like, people are doing stuff that's depraved and I'm different because I think it's morally wrong. Like that's like the main character in Brave New World. And also the main character in Tender as the Flesh. Oh, one more book. I just finished this book last night. Carrie Soto. Carrie Soto. Not my favorite Taylor Jenkins read. This is Carrie Soto's back. by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was a really anticipated read for me. I fucking love The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I love Daisy Jones and the Six. Malibu Rising, pretty good. It makes me sad because I think she's on a little bit of a decline, because this was just kind of missing that, like, Taylor Jenkins Reidness, you know? That, like, Daisy Jones and Evelyn Hugo both had. I don't know, I felt like it was missing something, because this book was simply about tennis. Like, and I'm not tennis girly. I actually took tennis lessons and fucking hated every second of it. And the only reason I would go was because the tennis court was right near the library. And my grandma would take me to the library after my tennis lesson, and I would pick out books. And that was the only way you could get me to go to tennis. If you've read Malibu Rising, Carrie Soto is in Malibu Rising. Carrie Soto is the woman that Nina Riva's husband leaves her for. She's a professional tennis player. We start this book off with another tennis player coming to break her record. Carrie Soto is basically the greatest tennis player ever. She had the most Grand Slam title wins ever in her career, and at the beginning of this book, a new face of tennis is tying that record. And so Carrie Soto comes out of retirement because she wants to keep the record. Like, obviously the book is about more than just tennis, but for me it felt like the book was about tennis. Like, I was just kind of like, yeah, okay, you shouldn't be fucking addicted to winning. Can we get to, like, a lesbian or something? Like, when are we going to get to that core TJR, like, moment, like, reveal moment? And I had my predictions, and simply, it just never came. So I was just like, okay. I gave it 3.75 stars. Obviously, it's still Taylor Jenkins Reid, so it's still good. But, like, definitely my least favorite one that I've read. And that's it. Those are all the books I read this summer. If you want to know what I'm going to read for the rest of the year, you can watch my last video where I packed all the books I brought with me this semester, because I'm going to be here until December. So that's what I'm going to read. I'm here now. Let me know if there's any content you want to see. I do have some specific New York content that I want to do, that I'm excited about. That's what's going on here, guys. I love you. Bye-bye. Is this a fucking bug? How the fuck did a bug get in here?